Hello, welcome panelists and community participants, and thank you for joining this discussion about the community resources which are available to help those in need, how they are accessed, and what you can do to help. My name is Jonas Werner. I live here in Freeport, and I will be the moderator for today's discussion. The town of Freeport and Freeport Community Services are working together to ensure that the people in our community can help each other in times of need. Recently, our community, like many others, was faced with cuts to SNAP benefits, and here in our community, that was to over 400 families. There was an outcry from people in our town about how we will take care of our neighbors. And now that the government is reopened, the need for action may not be quite as urgent, but there still may be some need for a cause for concern. We now have an opportunity as a community to better prepare to help our neighbors and to ensure all of our health and safety. To discuss these topics and in an effort to begin to pave a way forward, let us now hear from each of our panelists about their impression of what has brought us here today and what their organization does here in our community. If we could, first of all, thank you all for being here. I'm very grateful. And I would love to start, if we could, with Carrie Weeman from the town of Freeport, our General Assistance Administrator. Carrie, welcome.
Thank you, Jonas. I'm Carrie Weeman. I'm the Deputy Town Clerk and the GA Administrator for the town of Freeport. For people that don't know, General Assistance is a state-run program, state-mandated program that municipalities are tasked with providing and running. It's in state statute. There are maximums to what we can and cannot provide. It's basic necessities, rent, food, heating assistance, electricity. We do also there's burials and cremations. We look at the applicant's finances and it pretty much comes down to numbers. We try our best, but sometimes it's just out of our control what we can do.
Next, I would like to introduce Sophie Wilson from the town of Freeport. She is our town manager. And Sophie, if you could please introduce what it is that might have caused some concern in our community and what brought us together here today.
Sure. Sarah Lundeen and I both were contacted by a very concerned resident who had been fielding questions from people who thought that they would need assistance with food or heat, and also individuals in the community who didn't know how to contribute, knew that they wanted to contribute to try to help people in need, but weren't sure exactly how to do that. So today we're here because Jonas and Sarah have agreed to take their incredible network and bring it all in one place so that we can try to get those answers for the community.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Sarah Lundeen, would you like to share with us what you're doing over there at FCS and what brought you to the table today?
Yeah, I'm going to echo for sure what Sophie just shared. We have seen incredible generosity over the past month and a half at this point, since kind of through the federal government shutdown, and as that's reopened, it's incredible just to see folks continue to be concerned about the needs of their neighbors and wanting to make sure that people have everything that is essential to surviving. We are really fortunate to have all of you guys here today to join in this conversation. I think we all know that it takes a village, and a lot of what we do here at FCS is referring folks to other resources within our community, which would be any one of you all. And we're really grateful for the incredible partnerships that we have, and are just wanting to make sure as well that the community is aware of what you are doing for our neighbors in need, and also folks who may be in a time of needing some additional assistance maybe they've never had to reach out and ask for help. And I think it's really important to know who those key players are, where they can go and who they can turn to, so that we're not kind of spinning our wheels the first time we're trying to ask for help. So I just really appreciate the incredible partnership and what everyone here does to make sure folks are safe in Freeport and Pownell and Durham as well, and beyond. And knowing a lot of you cover areas beyond RSU5's territory.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Next, why don't we turn to Christina Link from Opportunity Alliance. Tell us a little about the work that you do, Christina.
Okay, so I manage the HEAT program for Cumberland County, the Opportunity Alliance. We're the community action agency for Cumberland County, so we would cover Pownell and Freeport, not Durham. That's a different county. But while the government has been shut down, we have been here. We are taking applications, processing applications, getting them ready to be paid out. There is an online application. So if you don't want to wait for an appointment or you can't make an appointment slot, you can apply online anytime, on the weekends and the evenings. We do have appointments that are available in December and January, and we are here doing what we can.
Thank you again. Dawn DiFiore from Good Shepherd Food Bank, would you mind sharing with us what you guys do and how you fit into this picture for all of us?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jonas. Good evening or afternoon, everybody. I am Dawn DiFiore. I'm with Good Shepherd Food Bank, and we fit into this. We were asked to be here, which is such an honor. So thank you to Freeport Community Services. Good Shepherd Food Bank is a food bank that works across the state of Maine. I think that a nice way to describe our work is like our organization is well known, but the work that we do is little known. So we actually partner with almost 600 organizations throughout the state of Maine who are the incredible community organizations that work with getting food to neighbors. Our organization provides support through offering food. We also do grant programs. We advocate both at the national and the state level. And I work with a team of community connection specialists, and these teams work with each organization throughout the state to help them address things like capacity, volunteer support, grant programs, fundraising, those types of things. So we are really in strong partnership with those who are addressing food insecurity across the state of Maine.
Excellent. Dawn, thank you so much. I imagine Hannah Chattelbash from Mid-Coast Hunger Prevention, that you probably work pretty closely with Good Shepherd Food Bank. Would you mind sharing with us how you fit into this picture for us?
Sure, yeah. Just like Freeport Community Services, we're a partner agency of Good Shepherd Food Bank. So they're a vendor for us. We purchase a significant amount of our food from and get food product for free as well from Good Shepherd Food Bank, as well as support services. At Mid-Coast Hunger Prevention Program, we are a hunger relief nonprofit located in Brunswick, but we have physical satellite locations that we personally oversee and run in Brunswick, Topsom, Lisbon, Bath, and Harpswell. Our primary pantry in Brunswick is open 4 days a week, and we also offer a soup kitchen on those days as well. It's a very robust pantry that sees about 2,000 visits a month. There are no income or residency requirements for that pantry, so Freeport, Durham, and Pownell residents can and do access it. Freeport is one of our top 10 towns that are served through visits to that pantry location. Like I said, it's a very low barrier program intended to really encourage people to access the service, use it when they need it, and as often as they need it. And it's a free grocery store shopping model. So folks come in and shop for the groceries they need, the difference just being that they walk out without paying. So we offer some of those sites in other communities as well. Harpswell has a very robust pantry in the town office that we partner with the town office in that community to offer a pantry there for residents of that community as well. We also do a fairly significant amount of home delivery of free groceries in our communities. It's something that is always limited by capacity and the cost, but an area where we see kind of a limitless need for services, are hoping to be able to do more of in the future as opportunities arise.
Thank you, Hannah. We appreciate your work. Finally, Peter Wagner, the RSU 5 Community Program Director. Personally, I can't say I think of the schools when I think of social services and the safety net in our community, Peter, but I know you're an important part of what happens here. So would you please share with us how the RSU fits into and helps the needs in our community?
Sure. Thanks, Jonas. What I can report is that RSU 5, our nutrition director, the superintendent, we would love to have food pantries at each of our 6 schools in the district, in the 3 towns. But we don't have space for that. We don't have an appropriate non-perishable food storage area outside of what's already used for the kitchens. But there is a food pantry at Freeport High School that is accessible to students and families. And then we have another small one at Durham Community School. So we do have those 2 pantries. We would love to have more, but right now we just don't have space to allow for it. Probably the biggest thing that our nutrition department does for all kids in the community, not just those who maybe are falling below certain poverty indicator markers, through state legislation, all children in RSU 5 are entitled to free breakfast and lunch, no questions asked. So every kid in every one of our schools can go in early, get some breakfast, they can get lunch, all of it for free. And so that, that can be, and I'm sure for some families is a really important part of their food forecast, nutrition forecast each and every week during the school year. There is another program that exists. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of it. I'm speaking a little bit out of my realm here, but there is another program that exists that allows school districts to actually deliver food outside of school hours. But RSU 5 falls far short of the requirements for the threshold of families qualifying for free and reduced lunch. So we're not able to offer that program during COVID. There were all sorts of exceptions and provisions that came along that allowed us to do that while kids were out of school. We were delivering meals home. But since those emergency measures were taken away, we now don't quite qualify. Just for the group's information and the community's information, in the current school year, we use data from 2022 when we talk about our nutrition program, so it lags by a couple of years. But based on that 2022 data, the overall for all the students in the school district, 19.40% qualify for free or reduced food. Pownell, so the 3 towns are Pownell, Freeport, and Durham that are in the school district. Pownell itself is almost exactly at that overall district number at 19.39%. Durham is a little below it at 16.45. And at the 2 Freeport schools that are exclusively Freeport children, Morse School, which is pre-K through 2, and Mass Landing School, which is 3rd through 5th grade, it's quite a bit higher. It's 24.91% meet the criteria for free and reduced lunch and meals. And I have the data that we work off of for the current year. If there would be interest in me sharing that or putting it up on the screen.
Thank you very much. I think it's pretty eye-opening to see the difference in those numbers across the towns.
Sure.
It says, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jonas. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt your thought.
Well, I think it speaks to the outcry we heard from people in our town when we heard that there was going to be a cut to SNAP benefits. There was quite a loud reverberation around town of people wanting to help. It's something that is visceral in our town.
Sure.
You can feel it.
Yep.
So go ahead.
If I could add just one other service that we provide that doesn't quite it doesn't exactly fit into food insecurity, but I do think it's an important part of the picture. Through our office, through community programs, we have a Laugh and Learn. That's called Laugh and Learn. That, among other things, provides before and after school care for pre-K through grade 5 children. And that has proven to be a real critical resource for families who have to work, who can't be home with their children at the end of the school day. And it allows them to work and earn and provide for their families. And so that program is very well utilized, and we're proud to offer it.
And how do people find out about that?
Um, as I think I've told many on this call before, community programs, we're really good at a lot of things, but marketing ain't one of them. So it's a lot of word of mouth. I can't say that we do a lot to advertise in the schools and community necessarily, but our programs are full. People who need us know us. But there certainly is more we could do.
Well, hopefully the program that's created as a result of this meeting will be a step in the right direction to getting people to you that need you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to introduce somebody who's heading up a new group here in our town, and that's Tony DeMarco from the Freeport Wood Bank. Tony, why don't you tell us what's going on with the Wood Bank and who can use it? What is it and who can use it?
Thanks, Jonas. Yeah, so the Freeport Wood Bank started earlier this year. We were granted a bit of land very generously by the town, right in the dump in the town, the recycling center. And we process firewood and we season it and then we deliver it to people. We also partner with FCS. FCS provides names of individuals who have requested firewood. I mean, we talk about food insecurity, but food and fuel are kind of two sides of the same coin, and people often have to make a decision where they're going to spend their money. So, for those people who heat with wood, and about half of Mainers supplement their heat with wood, we're eager to help them by providing seasoned wood. The challenge that we have is that wood, I mean, we can process the wood, but it takes a bit of time before it's ready to deliver because, part of the focus is ensuring that people are actually generating heat from their wood safely and not just, a bunch of smoke. And so the wood has to be seasoned for about between 6 to 12 months before we can deliver it. And this year we've delivered close to 17 cords. We've put out a couple of bins by different, so one in front of FCS, one in the Pownell Center, one in Durham, where people can get wood. But we also deliver wood directly to homes. We deliver a cord at a time. And if people are from outside of our zone, which is about a 30-minute drive, roughly, is what we consider our zone of service. They can come and pick up wood, but we are running out of wood, and we have a lot of wood, but it's not necessarily seasoned. So we'll have to see how far the current season takes us in terms of the amount of wood we have.
Tony, thank you. And I think that's a good segue for us to move on to the next part of this discussion. What started all this was Americans finding out that there were going to be people who were in serious need that were going to stop receiving the benefits they were receiving from the government. Now, the government is reopened. SNAP is functioning again, but we're still seeing, I know here in Freeport, there are more households than ever using our food pantry. They're making more visits more often. There are 25% more people this year asking for help to heat their home already, and it's still November. And so my first question to you all is, we know what has caused the concern in our communities. Is that behind us, or is there still a need for us to be concerned and continue on this path in preparing ways that we can help take care of our neighbors?
I would love to just put a little bit into the answer. I think a lot of people are excited that the government shutdown has ended and SNAP is back and has been loaded onto cards. But I think with the increased work requirements, we're still going to see people lose SNAP dollars. So I think it's awesome that part is out of the way, but people tend to forget that there's increased restrictions and just prices going up in general. So I think we're not out of the woods.
Would anybody else like to add on to that, or maybe share with us what those restrictions, the increased restrictions are, and how they might impact our communities?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, Kara, and I think that's just right. I mean, also, I think we need to back up and recognize that SNAP is flawed to begin with. It's not a universal solution to this problem, right? I mean, only about 35% of people who are shopping at Midcoast Hunger are actually on SNAP, which maybe you're saying that's a good thing. It means that SNAP is meeting their needs and then they don't need to go to the Charitable Food Network. Yes, but it also means there's this really large portion of our population who are not on SNAP, either because they're not eligible or they can't figure out how to access it or they don't want to access it for whatever reason. And yet they're still food insecure. So they are seeking support through the pantries and through the rest of the Charitable Food Network. So, yes, it's wonderful that SNAP is back. It never should have disappeared in the first place. And there are still some really big gaps in this system, as we know, and a lot of people who are being left behind as the cost of living in this state continues to rise and as wages continue to fail to keep up. For as long as we continue to have poverty and financial insecurity in this state, we're going to continue to have people showing up at food pantries seeking food support and seeking to supplement their household budget with free groceries, in the same way that Tony's going to keep seeing more people showing up for wood to try to supplement their household budget with free wood to burn for fuel. So this is absolutely a growing need. The policy changes that we're seeing come down the pike, including the expanded work requirements and more that we're going to see, along with policy changes that we're seeing around reductions in heating assistance, rental assistance, the increased cost of healthcare. All of these compounding factors are only going to make problems like food insecurity significantly worse as we enter the winter, which is our busy season always, every year, because heating is so expensive here in this state. So yes, we're seeing this compounding layers of problems where you have like a system that was already kind of broken to begin with. We're adding on new policies and policy changes that are making it worse. We're heading into winter. We're out of our heavy agriculture season here in this state. So there are a lot of big issues for us as a system to grapple with. I feel really grateful that we do have a very robust charitable food network and a lot of partners like all of you who are coming to the table and trying to problem solve around it and help. But it's certainly something that state's going to have to continue to reckon with as we head into the cold months.
Thank you, Hannah. Is there anyone else that would like to add on to that?
I think that Hannah said it really well, and I appreciate you popping in too, Kara. I think that was really eloquent. I think that in addition to those things, I'm wondering if the perception of the public is, well, now that the government is reopened and now that SNAP benefits are back on, so to speak, that, okay, we're in the clear. And I want to make certain, like, no, that really isn't the case. I think that SNAP fluctuations or any type of government has its reopened, those fluctuations rarely settle quickly. And in fact, it often takes households weeks to fully understand even how their benefits are changed or to catch up from a paycheck that they've missed due to a government shutdown. So I think that compounds into the problems that Hannah so gracefully laid out. Is we're not out of the woods. We're just kind of starting to get like 1 foot on that path. But I think that path for neighbors who are feeling the pinch of all of these things that have happened, I think that is a really small step in writing what has happened. And I think this is something that we're not going to be able to, we've said this for a while, food bank our way out of or food pantry our way out of. It does take a collective effort. And I agree with Hannah, like what she said about this is something that the state will continue to have to look at, and hopefully at a federal level as well.
Yeah, and not to be like state the obvious, but there was a healthy market for food and fuel assistance before the government shut down, right? So we're just building on top of what was already a pretty significant need in the community.
Thank you all for that. Dawn, back to you. I appreciate what you're saying and the fact that we are not at all out of the woods. What are you telling people who are working with you? What are you telling them they can expect over the next 30 to 60 days?
I appreciate that, Jonas. Actually, we rely on our partner network to tell us like what can we be expecting and what does support look like for you over the next 30 to 60 days. I can share with you, like, I wish that I had a crystal ball and that we knew what that looked like, and I'm really not entirely sure what the next couple of months will bring. I I can say, like, I feel like it's going to be, we expect continued high need. As Hannah said, this would normally be the busy season to begin with, and I think that this has just exacerbated it. And there's going to be ongoing SNAP uncertainty as benefits change, as if you have to reapply for your benefits, if those types of policies come into play. And I think that partners are doing everything that they can do to stay responsive right now. We're expecting elevated traffic and need at partner agencies, and that's something that we've been grappling with for 6 to 8 months. It's been quite a while, and inflation has to play into that. Out of all of the things that we listed, which this call is starting to sound like a Debbie Downer, but that really is part of what it is. Inflation plays into that as well. And then right now with the holiday season and heating costs, as Tony has spoken to, I think that neighbors are juggling a lot at once, and our partners are feeling that strain right along beside them. And so we really turn our ears to our partners to say, what is it that we should be expecting? What I'm expecting is really that uncertainty is the reoccurring theme. Like, folks continue to say, these are unprecedented times, and I do agree with that. I just think uncertainty, it keeps happening every single day. And what we are so grateful for is that to watch our partners adapt day by day and working closely with those community organizations to keep the food moving, to troubleshoot challenges and really make sure that neighbors have the most accurate and up-to-date information as things evolve. And that's what our partner network is really good at doing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to our expectations for people in the community over the next 30 to 60 days?
Christina, I'm going to put you on the spot just because I have a question about HEAP. So I was just kind of curious if you could share. I know that there was a concern about it not being funded, and just kind of wondering what that looks like as for my own curiosity. So.
Okay. Currently, we have not received, well, we are a federally funded program. So I have been told that I'm not worried about the program. I'm not worried about the program not being funded. We are here. We are still processing applications. So that's not on my radar. My radar is when we will get our funding. So that I don't have. I don't have a date. I wish I had a crystal ball. We would all like to know, as well. But we're in go to a weekly meeting where I get updates on stuff, but there hasn't been necessarily anything definite to share. So that part, we, like I said, all I can say is that when the funding does come in, all the community actions, we are still processing applications. So when the funding does come, that big payment, it's going to be a very large payment run around the state with all the applications that are ready and certified to be paid. But I don't know, and I mean that uncertainty affects all of us. When we have the Energy Crisis Intervention Program, it normally starts November 1st, but we did not have funding, to go ahead and start that. when we receive funding, that will also be starting up again. So that should relieve some of the pressure. Like the immediate emergency needs. We have had people call in. We usually refer them to the community resources that we are aware of. Also, we refer them to 211 because they keep a rather extensive list of emergency of community organizations that can help in an emergency. But actually, it's groups like this, though. There are some smaller organizations that might not make it onto 211's radar. They haven't been informed of them yet. They're new. So we also suggest people contact their town or GA offices, or if they have community services offices, contact them as well. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of answers right now.
Dawn said that there were some changes and have been some changes this year to eligibility requirements to receive SNAP benefits. I wonder if there have been any changes affecting eligibility for low-income heating and energy assistance program.
There haven't been many changes in eligibility from last year. That remain. I mean, there wasn't anything big change. There was a change in the energy crisis intervention program this year. It is in the past few years, applicants were able to access it more than once. So it used to be up to $800. So if you got 100 gallons and you didn't use all $800, then you could access it again. This year, it is going to be a one-time benefit up to 500. So if you don't use all 500, you can't come back and get a second one. We'll be trying to utilize as much as that $500 per emergency as possible. So it wouldn't be necessarily kept to 100 gallons. If we could give like 100 and order 120 or 130 gallons and stay within that 500, we will do that as well. So that will be a big change, and it will impact other community organizations that provide fuel assistance.
Wow. Okay, it sounds like if somebody is in need of help, that there really isn't a one-stop shopping, where they can go in and get everything they need. It sounds like that somebody in need really needs to work hard to pull together the different resources. And I wonder if anybody might want to provide any advice to someone who gets to see this of where to start if they need help.
So one thing I want to make sure is if someone's in a fuel emergency, a heating emergency, and they get that resolved, but they don't necessarily come to HEAP, to please contact us and apply, so then we can, and even if your emergency is taken care of, then we can still process your application, and then we can get you a benefit to prevent another emergency further down the line. And the other thing is that even if we take applications through the end of May, and people, balk at that, but because they're already through the winter, by April or May, but it sets you don't have to necessarily use those funds this heating season. You would have until the end of April next heating season in 2020. April 2027 to use those funds. So if you didn't apply during the beginning of the winter or in the heart of the winter, you applied in the spring, that sets you up so when it gets cold next fall, then you have those funds already sitting on your account ready to utilize.
So they don't actually have the funds in their own account, they're on account with you?
No, so it goes to their fuel vendor.
Okay. Does that, I know this is getting a little specific, but does that count against them as an asset if they're going for help from somebody like, let's say, General Assistance? A lot of people shaking their heads.
I don't know the rules to GA. If they have it won't affect them getting heat benefit then the next year. So they could apply in like March or April or May and get the benefit then, but then they can apply again, when the new heating season starts again, when we start taking applications for the next year.
So from a general assistance standpoint, working with HEAP and having secured that resource is not considered an asset. In fact, general assistance, if you haven't already applied to HEAP, one of the first things we will make you do this time of year is apply to maximize your benefits.
Excellent. So
Same
if,
with-
go ahead,
sorry.
Kara. No,
Same
please,
with
Kara.
SPS. If you are accessing HEAP, it doesn't affect your ability to utilize our heating assistance.
So where does someone start? If someone needs help, where do they start?
I think that there are a couple of different places. The main DACF, which is the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, in conjunction with the Maine Ending Hunger Corps, just put out a new statewide food access map. And this access map includes food pantries, it includes DHH offices, college student resources, meal sites, WIC clinics, and SNAP vendors, so that folks, it's a comprehensive view of where you could go in order to get help. So that's one place that folks could start. I think another place that folks could start is 211. That is a really great resource. You can access them by just dialing 211 on your phone, and they also have a really resourceful website. And then last but not least, I would say you could visit goodshepherd.com. We do have a find food map, and that would list our partners located throughout the state with food pantries, meal sites, and shelters where folks could go to get support. They would just enter their zip code. They can look at a radius from 10 to 50 miles around their particular zip code to find partners that are located near them that can help them with whatever, at least with food insecure needs.
Excellent.
From an FCS perspective, I feel like a part of my job is if people have a question and they don't know how to get it answered, sometimes I do refer them to 211 and other places, but like today someone asked me how to get a water test and they have no idea how to do it for their home. So like that's on my list after Thanksgiving to to help them figure out. I've helped people apply for certifications so they can get jobs. Kind of like a little bit of a catch-all over here on top of like the programs that we already offer. I just ask that people make an appointment with me.
Excellent. There are obviously a lot of people in our community that need help, and I can see by the great number of people that have joined this discussion that there are also a lot of people in our community, like many others, who want to help. If you are in this community, and you want to help, where is the best place to put either your time or your money to get the best bang for your buck? What should you do if you want to be part of the solution?
I think supporting any one of the organizations here today is a really great first step. I don't think you can go wrong, frankly. I think all of us probably have different varying needs, certainly right now and throughout the year. I would certainly also encourage folks. I think this time of year is traditionally very generous towards nonprofits and needs-based organizations, like many of us on this call. And that's what sets us up for, I think, great success in the new year. But I would also encourage folks to think about what they can do for help, or ways that they can help in the new year once the holiday season has kind of died down. We do see drops in donation and volunteerism after the new year. So I know we would certainly love to continue to see folks engaged here at FCS in various ways. Lots of volunteer opportunities year round, and it's a great place to be. And I would say this everywhere else is great too. So
I would piggyback on that, Sarah. I think like supporting your local food pantry or your local food wood bank, like any place where you feel like that you can go in and contribute and make a difference. It doesn't always have to be food distribution. I think that folks sometimes are looking for skilled volunteers too. Maybe you're really good at marketing. I know that somebody mentioned on the call earlier that marketing wasn't really their strong suit. I think it was you, Peter, that had said that. And so maybe that is your specialty where you can go in and help folks market it, or maybe social media is your thing. And so you would like to go in and help folks create a Facebook page. It doesn't necessarily have to be food distribution or heavy lifting. There are lots of ways to make contributions at your local organization. I am a big fan of always support your local food pantry. I think that you can volunteer if you can. And I agree with you, Sarah, like 100%, not just now, but also think about those folks in June or July when community support really typically dips. And if you're able, I would also consider donating. Both food and financial donations help partners stay stocked, especially when staples like shelf-stable meals or proteins and culturally preferred foods, and then also kids snacks. That's also a big thing that folks tend to think about adult foods, but kids and really what is tailored to their palate and what they would like to eat and not feel othered when they're having that food. And I think that a little bit of community action really goes a long way when systems are strained, and quite honestly, like even when they're not. And then the last thing I'll say is like, it's also really nice to reach out with encouragement. These organizations are working really hard, and they're also made up of neighbors who are helping neighbors. And so like, I think a kind word or a batch of cookies or a card to say thank you for what you do. We see you and we value what you're contributing to our community. That really goes a lot further than you might think. And that could just be a way that you have 5 minutes to make a difference in somebody else's day.
Thank you, all of you, for that. We've heard already that we can expect more turbulence in the coming months. That there's a lot of unknowns. We know that, as you said, Sarah, that donations tend to go down after the holidays and after the new year. So we know that one of the big impacts we can have going forward this year is to continue to contribute after all of the fanfare has died down of holiday needs. But I wonder if any of you, beyond more turbulence, if any of you has anything that they'd like to share with us that they think we can expect to see in 2026. Is it just more increased need in certain areas, or is there something in addition to that we might be looking at in 2026?
I'll just say, if there's a silver lining to what we're experiencing or what we have experienced over the past several weeks, it's that there's more awareness of the need, and there appears to be a greater desire to do something to help within the community. And I think probably the most impactful thing we can do is to try to sustain that by maintaining the level of energy and awareness, and also clarify that, as it was stated earlier, the end of the shutdown does not mean that things will return to some normal state. That there's always been need, and there's complexity in the need, and complexity in the approach to getting support. So those things will continue, and so as they continue, so does the need for support from the community.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to then move on to one of the questions that I have that that kind of keeps me up at night. And maybe there's no good answer for this, but I'd love to hear any responses you have to this question. And that is, how we're all here. We're all working hard to help our community. There are a lot of people working hard who are volunteering their time and their money to help. Can you give any advice to us for the people that worry about how we can make sure nobody in our community slips through the cracks? It's a tough question, I know.
I
Don't
think
all jump at once.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll give you a short answer anyways. I feel like being involved, being aware, being present, checking in, um, attending meetings like this. I just think that there's a lot of opportunities out there right now that all, social service organizations are engaging community members through, and lots of really great things happening. Like this morning I went to the grand opening of the new Tedford shelter. There are really great things happening in the community. And I think just staying aware of the challenges and current events is a incredible way of doing it, and it creates really great opportunities for engagement for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you. I do not see this discussion as a downer. In fact, this discussion actually brings me a lot of hope. I know that there is rising need, but the fact that there are so many people here that are working to help people in our community, and so many people in our community have showed up to hear what's going on, makes for me this a very hopeful call. I'd like to thank all of you who joined in this conversation, and thank you to our fantastic panelists for being here. We've heard very specific qualification criteria for some of these programs, and I know this can be confusing for those of you who might be in need. So if you do need help understanding if you're qualified for help, don't wonder, reach out and ask someone. Maybe someone here on this panel would be a good place to start. If you need help and you're not sure if you qualify, definitely ask. The people that are on this panel are all here to help you find help. I'd also like to say that the people on this panel work every day to ensure that no one falls through the cracks. And that's one of the reasons I love living in this community. I feel like I'm surrounded by people like that, not just at the town and not just at FCS, but my neighbors, the people I run into on the daily, have that same sort of idea. They don't want their neighbors falling through the cracks. So this is a beginning, and I'd like to leave you with this quote from Henry Ford, not my favorite capitalist, but I really appreciate these words. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So I invite all of you here to continue working together so that we can have a stronger, healthier community together. Thank you all again for being here, and thank you to the members of our community who showed up to participate in the discussion.
Thank you, Jonas.
My pleasure.